Welcome to the Closer Experience, our midweek experience at the Leadership Church. Closer is a place where believers can grow closer to God. At TLC, we believe that making a spiritual development enhances our relationship with God, and that is more than a Sunday experience. And our Closer community provides just that. And now, the Closer Experience.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to week 2, where we are running it back with our favorite guest, none other than very own Pastor E. So I hope you guys are ready. You know, last week we talked about completing the task and planning to finish. And so this week we are on fire because we are talking about running on your why. And I know some of y'all are curious to understand what that means, but don't worry, Pastor E's definitely going to let us know about running on your why. But again, you guys know she's no stranger to our podcast here. And so, Pastor E, if you just want to tell us a little bit about what running on your why means to you.
Absolutely. One of the things, first of all, good evening, everyone. Happy hump day to all of you. Yeah, I think we're still in the top of the year when it comes to understanding our goals and clarifying our goals and maybe auditing and just reflecting on where we're going, right? Just trying to clear up, what 2025 would bring us individually. And I like to say, help knowing your why helps you understand, the concept of what your target or what your purpose is, right? I like to say when you're able to run on a why, like the core of why are you doing this? I don't know if you remember being in school, Janae, there were essential questions that you had to ask to let your teacher know that you comprehend your paragraph or comprehend reading. It was like who, what, when, where,
and why.
And why, exactly. Yeah. And being able to answer those questions confirm that you comprehended and you understood what was going on in the passage, what was going on in any reading. And so it applies to just life, period. Being able to answer your why. The why is a lot of times what drives us, and running on your why helps you clarify your purpose, helps you identify the reasons you do certain things, Yes.
Okay. Well, I hope all of us are focused on our why this evening. Why we are planning to finish. Why, just focus on your why you're doing things. And so something I wanted to ask you, Pastor E, was what challenges have you faced in pursuing your why, and how did your faith help you overcome those obstacles?
What I can truly say is trying to figure out my why was awkward for me, right? It was, you've ever been doing something and you was like, why am I doing this? Why are we doing this? Like, what's the purpose, right? Mm-hmm. So I liken that to the scripture, Jeremiah 29:11, where the text talks about, for I know the plans that I have for you, and so what plans, we know that God just doesn't do things for no reason, right? That's just not how he operates. So God doesn't operate without having a why. So why do we operate without having a why? There you go. Exactly. So one of the ways I had to connect, or I felt like I discovered my why, is when I was at my lowest point, those situations helped shape me and help me kind of mold my why. And spiritually, that I connected that with God as I was going through those different things. It gave me clarity and focus, So for me, navigating challenges in my career helped me, go through different obstacles and understand my why. Did I answer your question? Did I answer it?
Yes, no. I mean, you had a specific situation, and more so in your career base, that, for lack of better terms, helped bring you to a certain point where you said, "Okay, Lord, I need help on this particular thing. Help me understand why."
Mm-hmm. Well, and let me just dive a little deeper, because I want to be a little transparent, because I think when we are transparent about situations that help people, to be honest, I encountered various obstacles, including workplace dynamics, difficult conversations that I had to have and that were had with me, pressure to meet organization expectations. There were times when I felt overwhelmed by office politics, struggles, working with people that looked like me who were not necessarily for me, and it questioned my capability and meaningful impact in my career period, but however, my faith reminded me that I was not alone in these struggles. Other people also struggled in their career as well, but it was their resilience and their faith that helped them get to the other side. And so I think it's like, I liken my experience to Joseph in the pit. Like, we got to have these pit moments that we have, while we're in a pit. It's like we discover our why. We're not understanding, like, why do we have to have these pit moments, and anybody that knows the story about Joseph, that his brothers sold him off to slavery, and how he was thrown in the pit, and he was left there, and how we too have these moments, where they seem like they're low moments. They're our valley moments. But I want to say it was in my valley moment, Janae, that I discovered my why, and I became passionate about helping others. Now, here it is that I struggled and I navigated, and that is where I learned so much about how to navigate the space in helping people craft resumes and learn how to interview well and know how to look for jobs. And it was in my pit moment. God began to give me wisdom on how to move with grace and integrity, And so I can't negate that my pit moment helped me discover my why.
Okay. And can you share a specific instance where understanding your why helped you persevere through a difficult time? I think you kind of just touched on it a little bit, but.
Yes, absolutely. Like you said, say that part again about perseverance.
I said, can you share a specific instance where understanding your why helped you persevere through a difficult time?
Oh, absolutely. Because I knew what my assignment was, like, I once you know what your assignment is, then you won't fall for anything, right? It'll keep you focused on your assignment. Different things are gonna come at you in different speeds and different seasons. But when you know your why, like, okay, I'm locked in. I'm locked in on God. Me and God are locked in on this purpose right here. I know why I'm here. And this right here has nothing to do with me. So I know that I got to persevere, get on the other side of this particular obstacle. I can't let this right here take me out, because I know that on the other side of this sticky situation, I'm going to come through, because this is what God has purposed me to do. It goes back to that scripture says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Exactly. It's not that the weapons aren't going to form, they're just not going to prosper. And so being able to hold on to God's word when navigating challenging situations helped me hold on to my why. Like, I know I'm called for this. You know, God told me this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my purpose. I'm tied to this thing. And so when you know your why, you know your assignment, and you are tied to that thing, then that's what you're running on. You know, that's what makes you push through.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, a lot of times us as humans, we tend to, you know, in those, like you said, valley moments, opposed to looking at the positive and focusing on the why, where the why becomes, well, why me, Lord?
Yes.
You know, why me? Why did you choose me to learn this particular lesson? Or why did you choose me to suffer? You know, we look at it as suffering all the time. And it's not. Sometimes we have to understand that, yes, it's easy for us to feel defeated in the moment, but we also have to look at sometimes rejection and whatever avenue as it is as God's protection. You know, it wasn't meant for you in that season. It wasn't meant for you to, you know, do those things. Yeah, we may have felt like we wanted to do those things, but God didn't qualify us to do those things. So therefore we needed to, he put us in a humbling situation to be patient and rest and just wait on him. So the why is not always the why me needs to be turned into, okay, well, what is this teaching me, Lord?
Yes, because it's what motivates you, you know, that it's what I used to work with, I had a mentoring group. And so each young lady, they had their own personalities. They had their own struggles. They had different backgrounds. They were diverse in their backgrounds, but they were all the same age. They were all the same. They were all female. They were all African-American females, right? And they were, you know, but they were diverse in their thought process. And it was different things, that drove each one of them. They just did. And so I could give all of them the same information, but some of them would take a hold to that information and take it to a whole nother level because they had goals that they wanted. One of them wanted to graduate and be valedictorian, you know. Another one, you know, she was going to be the first person in her family to graduate from high school and go to college. So she had something else to prove. Another one came from a single parent home. Her mom was in school and she was trying to finish school, you know, finish high school. And so it was breaking generational curses, you know, it was right. So each person had their own why, and that why is like really what motivates them and kept them accountable to their goals and allowed them to be committed to whatever goal that they had. So it's even in the self accountability, knowing your why holds you accountable to yourself. It encourages you to stay committed. No matter what comes, you know, I don't care what storm comes, disappointment comes, you know, it's like it allows you to stay committed to, you know, your progress because you know what motivates you.
And what would you say to those that, because I know a lot of people, especially since the pandemic, their why has kind of shifted directions. What would you say to those people that may feel now lost in their why?
It's like a reassessment. You got to go back to the reason the why was put there in the first place. You know, that's what that's one of the things, like reconnect to that why. It's that clarity and focus is so important, Janae. Because that's why running on a why means something. Because a lot of times when we see people just existing, it's because they don't have the mindset to have some type of goal or to have something that's driving them, you know. And if something has to drive you to wake up in the morning, you know, something has to drive you to go to work. Something has to drive you to live life. I don't know. It could be your family. It could be a significant other. It could be a financial goal. It could be a spiritual goal. It could be something that you're trying to prove to yourself. It could be breaking generational curses or trying to break a stronghold. There's some type of emotional connection. You understand what I mean by that? Is that connects you to your goals. And so when you have lost your footing in that, it's almost as if you have to revisit and find out what's going to make you feel fulfilled, what's going to make you feel like this is rewarding, what's going to boost your motivation to complete the task. You know, we're talking about completing the task.
Completing the task, yeah.
Yeah, what's going to motivate you to complete the task? And so I think sitting back and looking at it, we all go through those times where you have a moment of uncertainty, right? But when you have a moment of uncertainty, it's important for you to sit down and be still with God to gain clarity and focus and give yourself the mindset to figure out what is your real why. You know, what motivates you? What is the true motive by doing whatever it is that you want to do in life?
Okay. And how does knowing your why shape your long-term goals and aspirations as a believer?
Say that part again.
How does knowing your why shape your long-term goals and aspirations as a believer?
How does knowing your why
shape your long-term goals and aspirations as a believer?
As a believer, I just think it's something that it's more like almost like what you're called to, you know, like because to me, I think it helps shape what I feel is my assignment, what it is that I'm here in this space, my dash. You know, that dash. We talk about the dash that's going to be on your tombstone from the time that you're born to the time that we put you in the ground, like what that dash means, right? And so when I think about me creating the women's empowerment community, right? And establishing this community was a dream fueled by my passion for uplifting others. I've always been connected to just uplifting others, motivating others, being that person that walked my friends through challenges or whatnot. And I've always been that listening ear that encouraged and prayed and walked with people. But it was something I felt that was missing in the church when it came to community of women, right? And so I was connected to that movement, you know, and my long-term goal was to somehow empower other women to discover whatever their God-given talents and gifts were to help them change the world, you know. One of the ways that I want to say what kept me motivated and kept me encouraged and what kept me focused the whole time was making sure I was surrounding myself by other people that were just as focused, had something that they were focused on as well, you know. Investing in having a coach or an accountability partner. Yes.
Okay, so you mean, you know, you created this women's empowerment group, you know, knowing that there were other women's empowerment groups out there. And, you know, you did this, you know, with the intention of still trying to uplift people, even though there were other groups out there. You didn't let it scare you and intimidate you. You know, you did all this knowing that all of that is out there. Because, you know, a lot of us like to put a pause or put stipulations on our why because it already exists. You know, there's other people already out there doing it. So you mean to tell me you didn't let that stop you and deter you?
No, I feel like what God gave me was unique, you know, that that he put something in me different that only I had. That he gave me something to bring people together differently, you know, and I didn't see that happening in other spaces in other groups. What they were doing was wonderful, right? You know, I saw that that there were women's ministries that were doing some great work, but I felt like God was calling me to be a ministry that was more in the marketplace, right? That a more of a marketplace ministry that was diverse within the community. That was more in the, like business and community sector, not only just in the church. It was like bringing the people from the market into the church, you know. So God allowed me to create a ministry to curate empowerment and helping us through some natural challenges that I was seeing in the workplace, right? Or that I was seeing in small women's groups, that I was seeing in homes and where people were feeling like, oh, they were missing out on their personal and professional development. He allowed me to utilize those things, those moments to minister to women. And so I didn't see that done in other groups. And so I knew that was something that he was calling me to. And so it did not intimidate me 100%. I was a little scared just a little bit to put it out there. That happens naturally. Anytime you're doing something new, that someone that you haven't been seen, you know, that hasn't been seen or done before. So there is a small hesitation, you know, a huge hesitation. Sometimes laying in the floor like, God, you called me to do this. Like, why am I even gotta be at a 5-star?
Absolutely, you're human. You're human. You have those moments.
Oh my gosh, yes, Lord, you do. You have those moments. But then what I began to do was to surround myself by other women who were who had done something similar to what I was doing, or who was doing similar work, but not quite like mine. So then I had the support and the backing and encouragement as well. And believe it or not, it was phenomenal. I mean, I had people pushing me in my back saying, I mean, even now I try not to, this year I'm not doing anything. People have asked, are you doing something with the red dress? Are you doing the black dress? Are you doing it? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to support other people. I may do a few speaking engagements, but I won't post anything this year. This is my year of sabbatical. But I say all that to say, yes, Janae, even though other people were doing it, I think God may call each of us uniquely to do something different. And you can't get caught up in comparison to say, oh, you know, they're doing it like this over there, so I gotta mirror that. No, I slayed in my lane. I was like, this is what I know how to do, and I'm gonna come and I'm gonna do it just like this, you know.
Yeah, you said slayed in your lane. I like that, y'all. Make sure you slay in your lane while you are completing the task. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. You stay in your lane. Yes. I love that. Okay. What advice would you give someone who is struggling to find their why and feeling lost in their faith journey?
Advice that I would give someone, I say, first of all, it starts with God, right? You know, we can go out here, we can try all these different things, but it really does start with God. If you're struggling to find your why, I say sit down with a trusted individual who is a trusted spiritual individual, because I think knowing your why is a spiritual thing. You know, they don't have to necessarily be your pastor, but they can, as long as they're connected to the word, they know the word and they know your heart and they know you, then they can sit down and have a conversation with you to say, well, you know, what are some of the things that you do well? You know, have you prayed about these things? Like, how much time in prayer are you given to discovering your why? I think those things are most important in how we navigate our why. Because when I say it's the difference, it's a difference maker. You can tell people who know their why. People that just look like they just letting life throw them around, or people look like they're running on a purpose, and you try, where they get all this energy from? You know, like why it doesn't seem like they're sitting down, you know, it's because they know they why. They know they why, Janae, and they committed to it, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I need some of that. I need to be driven like that, you know? And so I think that helps a whole lot. Running on a why helps you understand your purpose. You're not just aiming at life. You have intentional goals. You're living life with intentionality.
Exactly. That is our series for the month. For those of you who join us on Sundays, that is our series for the month, living with intentionality. So if you want to know what that means, please tune in to last week and this week's message, and I promise you, you're gonna gain some clarity on what living intentionality means in different sectors of your life. Well, Pastor E, before we wrap up, my last question to you is, in what ways do you believe God uses our whys to fulfill his greater purpose in the world?
Well, I think just going back to like the story of Joseph, right? You know, and how God used him to interpret dreams, right? And then after that, he became one of the main second in command of Pharaoh's army due to his ability to be able to do that. And he used him in those ways. A lot of times we don't realize how our pit moments and things that we're going through allow us to minister and help others. The word of the Lord tells us that we are overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. And our words of our testimonies allow us to be used in a certain way. And a lot of times, most times, if it's something that you have faced in life that you feel like, okay, in my lowest time in life, this one thing has been like a struggle for me, right? Somewhere in there, God is ministering to you. Somewhere in that moment, it's a story. Then once you come on the other side, that He wants you to utilize that experience to be able to help others and to minister to others. So it really takes a unique person to have that lens to see that this was not for everything. It worked out for my good. You know, sha-na-na, right?
Yes.
All things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. That's what the word says. And so when we look at that, how all things just kind of come together and align themselves up, and that our purpose and our why is aligned in the all things. Because the all things is not all the time the good things, right? It's a combination.
Yeah.
It's a combination. It's a combination of the good. It's a combination of bad. Even in your struggles with your family, your struggle in your marriage, struggles in your career, is a combination of all things. And so that's just would be my encouragement for leaning in on your why.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, Pastor E. I don't know about anybody else, but I have a better understanding of what running on your why is. What your why is. Let your why be your driving force. If you don't understand what your why is, as Pastor E said, seek God. Make sure that God is involved in your why. Make sure your why is God focused. Don't let it be you focused. Don't let it be friend focused. Don't let it be family focused or whatever other hindrance or distraction may be keeping you or interrupting your why. Let your why be God focused.
Yes.
Well, I hope. Oh, go ahead, Pastor E.
No, and I just want to remind people, don't forget your why is not just for yourself. It really is to liberate and empower others. I talked about, just shortly about the why with the Women's Empowerment Ministry and how my why turned out to be something that uplifted other women, you know, and empowered and encouraged them in so many different sectors of their life. And so your why may do the same thing. It may be something that God wants to do in you to help me or to help Janae. So your why is for the community. Your why is for the people. Your why is for the next generation. So you can't just sit on your why and not run with it. You got to pick that why up and you got to run with it, because somebody is counting on you to run with your why, because your why is an answer to their problem.
Well, I can't say anything else better than that. I hope that something that was said tonight was impactful to you. I hope that you are going to pick up and start running on your why if you weren't already doing so. We do invite you to join us back here next Wednesday. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. via YouTube and Facebook. We would love for you to be part of our closer community. The information on how to join our community is below me. And we just hope to see you back here next week at 7 p.m. as we continue to go deeper and deeper on completing the task. I hope that you all are completing your task, and I hope that you all are going to finish it at the end of 2025. We'll see you here back next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.